I'm Vin.
I'm sorry.
If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the filthy capitalist option. As Sori says, 125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. 125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and you get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at villageXchange@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is the community option. $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go in the village, Facebook, Vin and Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 here and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy our merch.
Buy our merch indeed. Child shall lead them.
Buy our merch.
We are doing a DJ stream from my friend DJ AT. Shout out to the homie who never texts me. He's like, what the fuck is wrong? I text you all the time. This is like legitimately my friend. He's a kindred spirit of mine. I really think that. So he and I are kindred spirits. You should let us review your.
You guys will.
You will. It's in the books. We're just waiting for stuff to congeal. Mm-hmm. The next song we're listening to is by a band named Manegarm, Dodone Strand, The Shores of Death. So it looks like we're going to be talking about death for quite some time on this stream, and I am completely okay with that. They are a black metal band. Here we go. Dodone Strand. Let's do it. Folky.
Solo
Wow.
Jeez.
That was really good.
What is going on?
I got a little emotional even by the middle, like when the violin came in.
Yeah. Yeah. What is going on with DJ AT? He's hitting the bangers like boom boom.
Yep.
What was going on with you? You got a little
it was so
you got a little in your feelings there. What happened?
I think I don't know why, but something about the violin, the sound of the violin makes me feel very, very sad, but extremely hopeful simultaneously. And I feel like it's probably every person has like an instrument that's probably like their thing. And I think you maybe know it before you're there. I don't know. I'm not talking from experience right now.
Yeah.
But I feel like the violin is something that if I could, like, I think that when our the business takes off and there's more time and, you know, we're spread out in our own spaces a little bit more, not like us, but like our family, you know, and I have the time to be able to put into like learning the violin. Like, I think I'm definitely doing that. And I feel like that you could make an easy connection from your soul right through the music and straight out. So when I hear it, I'm like, oh, it's just, it always gets me right there.
On guitars with progressions. It's like, it's impossible to explain.
Yeah. Right. When you're playing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's
and
impossible to explain.
It has to be.
Feels. It's like,
I think it's because there's like a sort of oneness that everybody's kind of like looking for, or like lots of people are, unless you want to live in chaos, and in which case you like being all fucked up. But I think that like when there's something that meets your soul, but your body is creating that sound, so there's like more of a oneness. And then if you have a spiritual experience while you're playing the instrument, and it's just too much. I think it'd be something.
Ben asked me a question one time, and it was the most brilliant question I've ever heard.
Blocked Ben or another Ben?
Blocked Ben Webb. It was the most brilliant question I've ever heard in my entire life.
What was it?
Not on the channel. I'm talking about in my entire lived experience.
Okay,
where
what
Ben
was
said,
it?
He asked, "Do you think sounds want to be heard," or something like that? I wish he was here to actually repeat the question, but he was saying, "Do you think sounds want to be heard?" And that's a question that I think only musicians can, because it's a weird thing. You'll be in the shower and then you hear something, and you're like, "Oh, that's really good." And then you put it on guitar and you don't think anything of it. You're like, yeah. But it's like, what the fuck? Mm-hmm. Like,
I can see that. I feel that way about interpretive dance.
This progression of sounds and notes, as if it's kind of got a mind of its own and it wants to be heard by other people. Like, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And it chooses. That's why, like, yeah, I'm not going to. But it's damn, like, it's such a crazy thing to think about, like the phenomena of even sounds and what music is. I was just listening to this Islamic guy yesterday, and I said, God bless this guy, but holy shit. I feel like one of the... And everybody knows, like, I'm sweet on Islam. I love Islam. I love Muhammad, whatever. I'm a Christian, but if I wasn't a Christian, I would say I'd be a Muslim. But one of the worst...
When we were first married, I was a little afraid you were going to switch over.
One of the worst things about Orthodox Islam to me is the demonization, literally, of music.
Oh.
So the only...
Well...
Go ahead.
Because they have that demonization and the soul wants music, it has forced them to create some beautiful things with their voices.
The nasheeds, yes.
It's just incredible. Every time I hear it, I'm like, we need a version of that.
Yeah. Nasheeds. I agree.
But anyway, I agree. Demonizing all the instruments,
particularly instrumentation.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
and I'm like, that's another deal breaker for me, man. I couldn't do it. And he was saying, look, the human voice is manufactured by Allah, but instruments were manufactured by man. So that should tell you right there that instrumentation is bad. Sorry. From a Christian worldview, if something is invented by man, the assumption is it's because we're image bearers of God and we were told to replicate our Father. Mm-hmm. So, from our worldview, God is proud when we figure out instrumentation. He's proud of that. Mm-hmm. But, you know, it's... The thing to me about instrumentation is it's like... There's so many parts of the human experience that there's literally no verbiage for. There's certain pains, there's certain joys, there's certain things.
Indescribable, yeah.
And you know, my running...
Which is why I like Corinthians. Carry on.
Yeah. My running theory right now is that music is one of those bridges from this world and the other world, or this dimension and the other dimension. Mm-hmm. And we don't have the knowledge yet to put words to what those feelings mean. You say,
yes.
Oh, minor chords are sad, and, you know, major chords are happy. But that's... Everybody knows that that's an oversimplification of something massively significant.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when you're playing a minor chord in a really good... It's not sad or melancholic, but it's not happy either. But it's... You love that kind of moroseness. You love that melancholy, and it's so melancholy that it becomes something positive.
Yeah.
And in this realm, we don't have the words for that. Mm-hmm. So the song slows down, and then in comes the violin or the cello or whatever it was, and it's just like, bang! It just hits you like, and it you know, I could tell it was really affecting you and changing the mood for you. And it's really interesting because this band is not an English speaking band. Mm-hmm. We got the translation, but they're not an English speaking band. And yet they can still have that. That just shows you
that
how
music
powerful
yeah, absolutely.
instrumentation and music is. But go ahead, what were you saying?
Nothing. I was listening to you.
Oh, okay.
I do think that there are certain things that kind of like I was watching this situation. So I was in the boys' room. Orion is 2. He banged his foot. There was no mark on his foot. There was no real injury.
It wasn't the end of the world.
You know, he was crying a little bit about it, and I said, "Do you want me to kiss it?" And he said, "Yes." And he came over, he put his foot, so I kissed it. The second I kissed it, he was better. And I thought to myself, see, he doesn't understand. That doesn't heal his foot, right, but it does something for his little soul.
Yes.
And I thought,
yes.
So I think sometimes we look at situations and we don't, like a doctor is there to take care of your body. Maybe a psychologist takes care of your soul. A pastor helps take care of your spirit, you know, but wouldn't it be great if there was a location that you could go to that encompassed all of that? Mm-hmm. And the person, if you had to have a panel of 3 people, that's interesting.
Yeah.
You know, to kind of look over your well-being, like how much more holistic would we be? Like how at peace and how at one could we be? Because there's lots of times where people have some ailment and the doctors are like, we can't find anything. We can't find anything. Well, maybe if they went to the psychologist, they'd find something there. And then it's like, oh, well, that makes sense. You've got this and this and this and this that's affecting you. And, you know, but just how complex humans are and the things that can kind of like bring us all together. Obviously this music is that type. I ditched the lyrics. I said I'm not, because I was struggling to find out where I was in the song, because first you have to look to find theirs and see if that matches up with their words, and then you have to look over to see if it was over there. And I said, this was way too much work for art. Way too much work. And so I ditched the lyrics. I said, Vinny's going to go into those later. And then I just felt it. And I'm very glad I did, because I was able to hear the violin in the middle and just.
So what are you picturing, or what are you seeing when you hear that violin, or what are you feeling? I know it's kind of an impossible task.
No, it's not. It's not impossible at all. So I will not be able to tell you who the band was. You may know. It was a female. She was wearing mostly black. I think like a shorter skirt. I think her legs were, I don't know if her legs were bare or if she had like really tight leg. Whatever it was, it looked a little bit not warm enough for the climate she was in. That's all I remembered of that. She was playing the violin and she was stepping through the snow.
Oh, wow.
You don't remember this. It was just moving. It was absolutely moving. And the way that so when I love art the most, especially like I love dance, is when I can see the dance on the person's face. So if it's supposed to be an angry dance and the music is angry but the person kind of looks blank, then I don't like it and you can get off the stage. I want to see that fury in your face when you're doing the moves. And so when a person is playing the violin and it's just like a blank look on their face, I don't have any interest in it. But when this played, like I could just picture the person like just deep into the music themselves. And that to me is just, so I don't really remember much of what that girl looked like, but like you know how there's those like characters that they don't like really have faces, but there's enough there that they, so it was like one of those characters. And then she was just playing. And I think that the I think that sometimes the sorrows and the unexplained feelings that we have that maybe sometimes we don't even know where they come from, I think that those can be expressed through music, and sometimes stuff makes sense when you hear a certain song, even though it doesn't explain your situation to you and it doesn't make that any more clear, but suddenly you feel understood by like you understand the music and the music understands you in a way. Like, I don't know, like it was just a sort of. And then I always see myself whenever I hear a violin, I always see myself in a warmer climate, in a very sunny room, practicing and playing and loving it. So, and that was even before we talked about moving to a warmer climate.
Yeah, I mean,
just
unbelievable song, and I think some of it, because in one of the lyrics it talked about like releasing, letting go and releasing, which I'm assuming is about surrendering to death.
Oh wow.
Which
hey, Ruby
really
guy,
struck
you don't.
out to me.
101 Salmon, you don't have to super chat to get us to see your messages. You can just send them. You don't have to super chat every single time. Just so you
He was in prison for murder. He died with a shot. Therefore, dissection and starless aeon are the darkest things to analyze. Yeah, I actually did a song. The last review we did of dissection, I think we went there for show, and we discussed that. Those aren't the right lyrics. These are. So he says, the pain consumes the soul, a tear of silence falls against the morning soil, the blackest soil. Morning soil, not morning soil.
right, like crying morning.
The heavy,
right?
yeah. The heavy blackness that blinds my eyesight. I don't know what that is. Darandes on his knees, the world falls, magpie down. My hands are filled with the water of life, the hot flow I walk still. I'm assuming that's blood. Releasing my weak grip, released from the fabric, from the shackles that bound me. So it looks like waiting in the darkness in the river of memories, an endless cry for the shore of death. This is, you know how they say your life flashes before your eyes when you're dying? Mm-hmm. She hints faintly whose son I am. The depths and the darkness, the bitter mother of the father, falling to her knees before her sickly splendor. So it looks like this guy got gut shot or something, and he's bleeding out and he's dying, and he's like trying to hold on to life before it slips away. Which, there's that famous poem about you have to rage against the dying of the night or the dying of the light or whatever. Like, you can't go quietly into that. Don't go quietly into that dark whatever. Mm-hmm. And I do think that there's something to be said about that. But I also think, like, wouldn't you want to be in a situation where... But again, that depends on whether or not you think that there's a time written for you to die. If you believe that there's a time... And
if you have any assurance of where you're going.
Yeah, but as far as fighting death goes, even if I think I'm going to heaven, like...
No, I'm saying if you thought you were going to hell... Wouldn't you fight a little bit more to stay awake?
Yeah, I understand that.
Or if you were...
But what I'm talking about is, even as a Christian,
mm-hmm.
I think that, let's say you're 25, you just had a kid.
Yeah.
Whether or not you're going to heaven or hell, is probably... The big thing is you're going to leave behind this kid.
Oh, God, yeah.
So from that vantage point, I'm like, yeah, you should fight against it. But then from another vantage point, it's like, well, if it's your fate and it's time for you to go... Wouldn't you want to be able to embrace that moment and embrace it and not, fight against it?
Oh, well, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I've seen a bunch of births, and it's like, if the baby's breached and all this, and can you imagine if the baby was fighting to stay in the womb?
No.
That would be a very miserable experience for that kid, So that's kind of like how I function with death. It's like, because there have been situations where it's like, I don't really feel like dying right now.
I don't?
Yeah, me. Like,
yeah.
I didn't really feel like dying in that moment.
Yeah.
So, I did whatever I had to do to stay alive. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it is an interesting question. Like, yeah, but if you... And part of me feels like there's a difference between like, oh, I'm fighting cancer and I just can't go through this chemo anymore, man. I'm good.
I agree.
Versus... the story that you told where the guy was dying in the hospital. He saw angels presumably in the room with him. obviously Jesus came to pick him up. You know what I'm saying? When it was time for him to go home. Like, that's one kind of thing where it's like, of course you're going to accept that. You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously. But I've read a lot of these stories where the patient knows, like, no, I'm going to die tomorrow at 3 p.m. Like, really, really exact stuff. And sure enough, that's when it happened. You know, so, like, I feel like people know, like, God lets you know when it's time, then it's really, really time, when you're not really going to make it. Like, there's this one of these Chicago...
Some people, I don't think he does that with everybody.
One of these Chicago rappers who was not a very good person. He got hit in the leg, and he told his friends he wasn't going to make it. It was a leg shot.
Oh, yeah.
And he knew he wasn't going to make it. So, I think God in His mercy does that with people just so that they can realize, like, you got some accounts to settle, man. You better settle that shit.
Well, I mean, yeah, but there's
You know what I'm
lots of
saying?
people that didn't have a chance to think about it. So,
Right.
you know, we used to say that to people all the time. Don't wait until the last minute.
Oh, I agree.
And what was that story that you
I
told
agree.
when you remember he'd go through phases where you like read people's last experiences and stuff like that? What was that? I was trying to remember today. What was that one where the guy?
They were not all good experiences. Not all necessarily.
He was at the end and he was like cursing. What was the thing? It was like a really weird like.
It's a gangbanger in California.
Like it was bad. Is that the story?
Yeah, he got hit, and you know he was in and out during surgery, and his
It had to do with his mother in this situation.
his mother
Yeah, okay.
was saying, you know, just Jesus is gonna take care of you or whatever. And he looked at her and said, "Fuck your Jesus," he said. And you know he's going in and out of consciousness, and then he starts yelling. He looks at a certain direction in the room, and he starts screaming, terrified, and then he died. Like, so not all NDEs are very good. You know what I'm saying? Like, and again, that's a situation where it's like, yeah, you should probably fight to stay alive, bro.
That's what I'm saying. But
But at that point, you know, he knows he's dying, and he's saying that.
and he's still saying that.
You know, like, and I tell people all the time, like, you shouldn't play around. Like, that's the unpardonable sin. The unpardonable sin is not like one specific thing. It's crossing that line to where it doesn't matter what you see or hear or what
Right.
circumstance you're in. You are not going to believe. You're going to maintain your rebellion until the last ounce of breath that you have. And
Well, you kind of saw that, like, if you look at the biblical account of Jesus rising from the dead, and, like, the church leaders or whatever the time knew what happened, and they just said they wanted to pay everybody off to lie about it. Stuff like that, like, where you're actively doing stuff to not see the truth and to hide the truth from even other people. That's pretty crazy.
yeah, it's deep. What'd you get the song?
9.9.
Solid 9 for me. Very thought-provoking stream. Holy smokes.
I know. AT, what are you doing to us?
Remember death, dear listener. Vin out.
Sorry.
Gone.